Well, Mr. Jackson, that's exactly the point I want to get to. You'll be familiar, and perhaps we can go to Deuteronomy 22, 23 to 27.
Deuteronomy 22, 23 to 27.
Page 304.
Mm-hmm.
So where it said that if a man is found lying down with a woman who is the wife of another man, both of them must die together. Now, let me just preface this. I'm not addressing the question of the stoning. I'm addressing the question of evidence. The man who lay down with the woman as well as the woman. Sorry, I read that badly. Both of them must die together. The man who lay down with the woman as well as the woman. So you must remove what is bad out of Israel. Then it says, if a virgin is engaged to a man and another man happens to meet her in the city and lies down with her, you should bring them both out to the gate of that city and stone them to death. The girl, because she did not scream in the city, and the man, because he humiliated the wife of his fellow man. So you must remove what is evil from your midst. And then the next example is the one I'm particularly interested in. If, however, the man happened to meet the engaged girl in the field, and the man overpowered her and lay down with her, and the man who lay down with her is to die by himself, and you must do nothing to the girl. The girl has not committed a sin deserving of death. This case is the same as when a man attacks his fellow man and murders him, for he happened to meet her in the field, and the engaged girl screamed, but there was no one to rescue her. So the point of this last example is that there's no second witness, is there? Because the woman's in the field, she screamed, but there was no one to rescue her. Do you accept that?
Could I explain, Mr. Stewart, that, you see, I think already under testimony, some of Jehovah's Witnesses have explained that the two witnesses needed can be, in some cases, the circumstances. I think, was it an example given?
I'll come to that, Mr. Jackson.
Okay, so
we'll get through this a lot quicker and easier if we just address it one step at a time. So
okay.
the present step...
So the answer to your question?
The present step is this, is that in that example you accept it's a case where there was no other witness beyond the woman herself.
There was no other witness except the woman herself, but added to that were the circumstances.
Yes, well, the circumstances were that she was raped in the field.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but they were circumstances.
And it was sufficient, there being only one witness, it was nevertheless sufficient for the conclusion that the man should be stoned to death.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, is it...
I think we're agreeing on the point.
Yes, is it not the case that had Jesus been asked about a case of sexual abuse, he may have referred back to this part of Deuteronomy and said that it's not required to have two witnesses?
I certainly would like to ask Jesus that, and I can't at the moment. I hope to in the future. But that's a hypothetical question which if we had an answer, then we could support what you said.
Well, it's hypothetical in a sense, but really what I'm driving at is the scriptural basis, and you the scholar, I'm not, is the scriptural basis to the two-witness rule really so solid, or is there not space for your governing body to recognize that in cases of sexual abuse it need not apply?
Again, if I could just mention the fact that we've already acknowledged that circumstances can also be one of the witnesses.
Well, I'll come to that, but my question is a different one. It's whether the scriptural basis to the two-witness rule in relation to cases of sexual abuse has a proper foundation.
We believe it does because of the number of times that principle is emphasized in the scriptures.
Now, you'll be aware, of course, in the case of adultery, so long as there are two witnesses to the circumstances of opportunity, that will be sufficient.
Yes.
So in other words, there needn't be two witnesses to the act of adultery itself, but only to the circumstances of opportunity.
Sorry, you would need to walk me through that a little
All right,
further.
well,
I'm not quite sure.
It should be, should it not, that a witness to an opportunity for the sexual abuse to have taken place would be the sufficient second witness.
Yes, if there is no, what does it say here?
Extenuating circumstances.
Under improper circumstances.
So a second witness to circumstantial or corroborating evidence would be sufficient to fulfill the second witness requirement.
That's a very large question, and I think it's something that we would need to consider carefully.
Yes, well, it's just important as to whether the second witness has to be a witness to the abuse itself, or to what extent it can be, he or she can be a witness to circumstantial or corroborating evidence. So let me use an example. What about the trauma, evident trauma of the survivor? Would that be able to be taken into account as corroborating evidence?
Yes, it would need to be taken into account. And if I could mention, Mr. Stewart, these are the things that we're interested in following up on after the Royal Commission, just to make sure that everything is in place, because certainly these are the things we're interested in.
Yes, but you'll understand, Mr. Jackson, what we're interested in is how much room you have to move, as it were, to what extent you're bound by the scriptures, and to what extent you have flexibility to change your processes.
That's right. Well, may I mention, oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
I was going to say to His Honour, would that be a convenient time for a lunch adjournment?
Mr. Jackson, what did you want to say?
I was just going to say I thought that had already been established in the hearing. If not, certainly that's something that we need to follow up on.
À propos de la règle des deux témoins, nous lisons la conclusion F42, page 79. Les règles qui veulent qu'au moins deux témoins oculaires pour un même incident soient requises en l'absence de confession de l'accusé signifient que dans le cas des abus sexuels sur mineurs, qui ont lieu quasi invariablement en privé, très souvent aucune charge ne pourra être retenue à l'encontre de l'accusé, mettent en danger les enfants au sein de l'organisation des témoins de Jéhovah, puisque bien souvent, rien n'est entrepris à l'encontre du pédophile.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Pour qu'un comité de discipline religieuse soit convoqué, il faut une confession ou bien le témoignage de deux personnes. Notre position fondée sur les Écritures ne changera donc jamais.